What's up, guys? It's your boy Heckett Steve, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm doing what's been done thousands of times before, and that's ranking the game consoles. Not everything is on this list, like the Virtual Boy, for example. Some of them are pulling double duty, like the Game Boy Advance is pulling SP as well. Game Boy is pulling Game Boy Color. So they're working double duty there. Now, the ones that I already have in F tier are either ones that I don't recognize or I have minimal experience with, so I can't judge them. So these are not actually F tier consoles. They're just put here because I don't know what the hell they are, or I've like the TurboGrafx I've played twice in my whole life, so I can't I can't pass judgment on like where I would grade it. All right. That being said, let's kick this off. Game Boy Original, had one brand new when I was 3 years old. Didn't get rid of it till like 2002, so I had it for like almost 10 years. It was great. Pokemon's awesome. As well as some of the first party Nintendo games. And also the Bill and Ted game on there was pretty tight. GameCube, I didn't have it during the hype of it. B tier, I'd say. The controller's a little crazy and different, but, it's not bad. PS2, greatest console of all time. So that's going S tier. I don't feel like I need to justify why I would put that S tier. I think everybody knows the PS2 is the GOAT. If you don't, let me know in the comments below, and I'll tell you a couple of reasons why you should change your mind. All right, Sega Genesis. That's going to be C tier. All right, there's nothing wrong with the Genesis. However, I was just more of a Super Nintendo guy. Now, I had both, and I did enjoy playing games on the Sega Genesis. However, man, I think it was the Beavis and Butthead game. All right, that plays a huge factor here because it was either the Genesis version or the Super Nintendo version because they were different. One of them was stupid hard, and I think it was the Genesis one. But yeah, C tier, that's where it goes. PS3, that's A tier. I had the PS3 when it first came out, back before, when everybody was saying it had no games. But it had free online play, and it did end up with some banger titles later on in its lifespan. So A tier for that. It would be S tier if it was, backwards compatible with the PS2 the whole time. But, that's the thing about the PS3, man, is it started out with all this cool shit, and then they just started taking it away. So that's A tier because of that. Super Nintendo, first console to give you two controllers as far as I know, right out the box. That's going to A tier. Everybody knows. And it came with Super Mario World. But, like, you got Donkey Kong, Earthworm Jim. Some of the wrestling games on it were pretty tight. I mean, Breath of Fire. Yeah. And some of the Final Fantasy early titles. Also, Super Mario RPG, man. That was good. Mario Kart made its debut on that system. Nintendo Switch. That's going S tier. And I hope that's what that is. I mean, that's pretty... Like, dude, if you guys actually make these lists, put the name of the thing under the picture. Like, come on, man. That being said, yeah, S tier for that because it's portable and home console based. Is genius. Game & Watch, terrible. That's like a Tiger Electronics toy, but Nintendo branded. Nintendo DS, DSi, DS Lite, I think these are all classified under the same. I'm going to give that B tier. Having two screens was cool and one of them being touch, but there's a lot of shovelware on that console that weighs it down, so B tier for that. Also, it had a problem with the hinges. They would end up breaking. Which is not a very common thing for Nintendo to make poor hardware decisions like that. But hey, none of my hinges ever broke. Excuse me for the coughing. 3DS, I'm going to give that B tier as well. Only because everybody that got their thing, they turned the 3D off within 5 minutes. So at that point, it's just a DS. All right, Xbox One, that's going to go C tier. Wasn't a lot of stuff that generation that blew me away on the Xbox One. The machine was massive, so for that, it's C tier. Xbox 360. Okay, let's do the original one first. So this one had the red ring problems, so that's going D tier. It did have a lot of games and a lot of good franchises on it, but it didn't have wireless built into it either, and some of the original models didn't even have HDMI ports yet, so that's D tier for sure. Now, the Slim, I'll give the Slim, that's going to be B tier, okay? Because they fixed a lot of the red ring problems, although I bought one of those Slim models brand new, and it red ringed on me. which is funny because I own 3 of these white ones that I bought from pawn shops, and they never broke. But I bought this one brand new, the only one I ever bought brand new, and it broke on me in 3 days, or within 30 days. Nonetheless, it was just an upgrade console overall, and I had the Kinect with it, which was a gimmick to compete with the Nintendo Wii, and it was okay. I definitely liked the fact that it was just a camera that, paid attention to you instead of you having to hold a bunch of shit. All right, original Xbox, it was good. Brought us the Halo franchise. It was Microsoft's debut as a game console. It was massive, though, and it had a lot of problems blowing up on people. But because of Halo, I'm going to give that, a C tier, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because to play DVDs on this thing, which is fully capable of doing, you had to buy a fucking remote. What a ram in your butthole that is. $30 to be able to play DVDs, even though it has the ability to do it. Dumb decisions. Anyways, also it was short-lived. It was only in production for like 4 years. Let's see. Series X, that's going to be S tier. Mostly because of graphics, but also because it represents S and X. And I think the Xbox Series S is one of the best values you can get in a game console this generation, especially when you combine it with Game Pass. Same thing goes for PS5. The Plus subscription is not as good as Game Pass, but it's pretty sweet. The controller is awesome. Other than that microphone, fuck that microphone. But the haptic feedback in the sticks and stuff is really sweet, especially like when you're playing like a basketball game. Or any game, it's great. But yeah, I'll do S tier on that. Graphics is pulling a lot of the weight for these two, by the way. All right, and the Nintendo Wii, also a very successful console, weighed down by a filler library. It has a few, man, I'd probably say it has like 30 good games, and that's pushing it. But it has like 850 other games that suck ass. So let's give that B tier. Only out of respect for Wii Sports and Wii Sports bowling and boxing does it get a B tier. Otherwise, I'd put that shit in a C, which is really not that big of a deal. But I just wanted to point out that I really liked the Wii Sports games. All right, original NES, that's C tier. Only 2 buttons on the controller. Controller cords were like 3 or 4 feet long, and the thing's like this. It's like this big, man. It's like the size of a one Switch Joy-Con. And I don't know if you ever played like Smash or some game with just that one little piece, but damn, man, that's crazy. But at least the Joy-Con has more than 2 buttons on it. All right, let's see. What is this? The Sega Saturn or the CD? I think that's what that is. I'm going to give that F tier. I don't have enough experience to say. Game Gear, that's D tier. And the reason I give it that is because, yeah, it had an LCD, and that was cool. It was really expensive when it came out at the time. It didn't get a lot of games for it, and it ran through AA batteries, which it took 6. It would run through them in like 2 or 3 hours. So, screw that, man. PS Vita, one of the greatest handhelds of all time. That's going to go A tier. Although it was short-lived. Shout out to the PlayStation TV, man. And PSP is going S tier. I think that's one of the best handheld consoles of all time because of the time it came out and what it could do. Yeah, it did have those Memory Stick Pro Duo proprietary memory cards, which sucked. But the fact that it could be an MP3 player, play movies, store photos, and games all in one on the go, and had a decent battery life for when it came out, which was 2004, before like iPhone and all that and other smartphones. So that's S tier, man. Although the UMDs did suck. I will say that for sure. The Sega Dreamcast. So short-lived, way ahead of its time, killed by PS2. I'm going to give that B tier. Only because a lot of the games that made that thing famous are still ported and remastered on modern consoles to this day. So gotta be B tier out of respect. Nintendo 64 controller was weird, but as far as I know, this is the first console that had 4 controller ports built into it, and it had some of the badass wrestling games on it. Yeah, so A tier for that. I think this is the Sega Nomad, which is basically just a portable Genesis, so we're gonna put that with the Genesis, only because it didn't sell as many. It is a rare piece if you find one nowadays, but yeah, that's where it's going. Game Boy Advance. which also is pulling double duty. So I would say that's the SP as well. And for the SP, I would give it a B class. Backlit built in, first foldable handheld to protect the screen, great games, B class. The Nokia Engage, great idea, poorly executed. The only game I remember being on it was like a Tony Hawk game. And why would you play Tony Hawk on that when you could play Tony Hawk in a way better setting on like a PS1 or a PS2? Speaking of PS1, that's going to go A tier only because of all the great console or great games that it had on the console. You know, shout out Crash Bandicoot, Tomb Raider, Spyro the Dragon, Dino Crisis, Resident Evil, Tekken, Final Fantasy. I mean, the list goes on. And, you know, S tier for PS2 because it's fully backwards compatible with the PS1. All right, PS4. PS4 didn't really blow me away, but I did like it more than the Xbox One, so I'll give that B rating. This, I believe, is Sega Master System. I'm going to give that D, only because I don't have a lot of experience with Sega Master System. But, you know, I think D's better than putting it in an F. Sega Saturn, I think that's what that is. I'm going to put that in F. I don't have enough experience with that to say. Now we're down to the final thing, the Wii U. And we wouldn't have a Switch if it wasn't for the Wii U, because the gamepad was a great idea, but just poorly executed and bad marketing overall for this game console. But fully backwards compatible with the Wii, I'm going to give it a B rating. I'm going to put it on par with the Nintendo Wii. Even though it's slightly better, it slightly isn't, if that makes any sense. But yeah, there you guys have it right there. PS2, original Game Boy, Nintendo Switch, Series X, PS5, and PSP are my S tier game systems of all time. And let me know in the comments what you guys think, man, if you agree or disagree. And I like to, you know, have discussions, so I'll definitely respond to as many comments as I can. But that's it for this video, guys. I'll catch you on the next one, and, you know, have a great day.